Hey, what's up, my comic book aficionados? It's your boy J Rock. Today I'm gonna be hitting you with another comic book review. Today we're gonna be reviewing Doc Savage. This is a character that was created back in the 30s. Before your superheroes even existed. You had Doc Savage, Conan, the Shadow, and the Phantom. These were like your pulp characters. A lot of this stuff was in black and white or magazines. So he's a character that kind of stayed in that era. Even the modern stories are still set in those times, the 30s and 40s. Okay, so now this trade paperback, story arc is gonna be called The Reign of Fire. So the writer here is David Avallone, and the artist is Dave Acosta. So this story starts off where Doc Savage's cousin named Patricia Savage, she's having this nightmare. This friend named Amelia, and she got lost somewhere. They haven't found her. So she's been having nightmares about her, that she's still alive somewhere. She's not dead. So she hasn't given up hope. Now in this nightmare, this volcano erupts and this like god made of fire just burns Doc Savage to ashes, right? And he reaches out to her. Then she wakes up. So she always wakes up. It's a recurring nightmare. She always wakes up when this creature reaches out to her. So since she keeps having this nightmare, she thinks it's an omen, like it's a sign. She's still alive. She's not dead. She tells Doc Savage, her cousin, like, I know she's still out there. We gotta look for her. We can't give up hope. And he's telling her, maybe you need to know when to fold them. We looked for a long time. We found no one. As Doc Savage is explaining this to her, the president calls Doc Savage. So yeah, he got it like that, where the president calls him for help. Like they're buddies. You know what I'm saying? Batman got Commissioner Gordon. He got the president. So yeah, he called him saying something's going down in a military base, in an American military base. There's a lot of volcanoes erupting all of a sudden when there was no volcano activity before we set up a military base there. So that's very odd. He says, why would it be in a military base, right? So it seems like these are not natural. Someone's making these volcanoes erupt or happen, right? Okay, so Doc Savage gets the crew together. So you get introduced to the gang. For those of you not familiar with the Doc Savage comics, uh, the red hair guy here is Monk. The guy with the mustache, that's Ham. The blonde guy, that's Johnny. He's kind of like the scientist, the smart one of the group, electrician and all that stuff, right? The guy that's all into tech. And then the other guy is Rennie. Then you also have Doc Savage, of course. So he lets them know something's going down in this island, some weird volcano activity. They all go together. They fly to this island. Okay, so before they even get there, there's this other plane flying above them, and a bunch of guys jump off the plane with parachutes and land on their plane. So somebody don't want them there. That's for damn sure. We know that much. Once they get in the plane, everybody starts fighting. The whole fight breaks off. Once the good guys win, they keep one guy conscious. All the rest are unconscious. They want to interrogate him, ask him a few questions, and he has a kill switch. Now, what I mean by that is he has like this gadget that's like a suicide button, right? When he presses it, all the other villains that are passed out, they get electrocuted. And he also electrocutes himself. So they're not gonna give any answers or anything, right? So one Sockstaff says, well, they all killed themselves. We can't get any info from them. So they keep going on their merry way to the island. Okay, so once they make it to the island, they saw this abandoned ship on the water. So they decided, let's go take a swim. So they're swimming underwater. The art here is real cool. I like the way it looks right here when they're swimming underwater in the ship. And as to be expected in a ship, there's gonna be, what happened to the people in the ship. So there's still dead bodies floating around and stuff. And that looked kind of eerie when you see them just floating there. And why they were doing this, while they're walking on in the ship, see what they find. They find out something pretty important. Once they found it, they blew up the ship. Went back to shore. The rest of the squad tells them, "Did you find anything important?" And you see the worried look in Doc Savage's face. He says, "Yes, we're dealing with a known terrorist named Doctor Sunlight. So we're not in for a walk on the park right now." Meanwhile, back at home, Patricia Savage keeps having this recurring nightmare. And this time she got some clues from it. She found out, she heard like the word Phoenix Island. So I guess this entity made of fire she keeps having on the dreams meant Phoenix or whatever, right? So she decides to fly to this island. And yes, she could fly planes. She's a pilot. So when she's going to this island, guess what she encounters when she gets there? Dr. Sunlight. So her and Doc Savage pretty much find out who the villain of the story is around the same time. They're just in different areas or whatnot. But she gets to the island before him. Dr. Sunlight traps her, puts her in a cage. But when he puts her in this cage or prison, guess who's there? Amelia. So she's happy that Amelia's still alive. This is the part of the story where the evil villain, Johnny Sunlight, will reveal his master plan, right? I'm not the biggest fan of this trope in books. I kind of prefer to have the superhero slowly find out the evildoer's plans. But here he's revealing the plans to Patricia Savage and Amelia. He says, "You know where I got the technology to create these volcanoes? From Doc Savage. So this is Doc Savage's technology that he stole." And I hasn't explained why Doc Savage hasn't said like, "Hey, that's my technology they're using." Why he hasn't told the rest of his crew? But oh well, so we're just gonna go with it for right now. He's explaining the plan, and while he's doing that, Patricia Savage cracks this joke on him. She goes, "Did you invent any other machines like a ray gun for loneliness? Because you got way too much freaking time on your hand, kid." And so he's like, "Aha, you're clever, whatever." And he just walks away, leaves them in the cells, right, in the cage he put them in. So it turns out Patricia's belt, it's some type of gadget from Doc Savage. It could turn real hot and it could melt through the bars. So they quickly escape from there. Once they escape, because she was kind of, I guess, anticipating that she might be captured, so take something to escape from wherever they put you at. So once they escape, they're putting the smash down on some of these villains. So we cut back to Doc Savage and the gang, and they know Sunlight's gonna be waiting for them. It's gonna be some type of setup, so they're going to take different routes there. Once they get there, Doc Savage goes savage. He goes Doc Savage on them. But even when he goes savage, he can't take out a whole army. And that wasn't his intention. He was kind of like a decoy where the rest of the crew get on the island and they all take different paths, right? So now we got a lot of moving pieces here because we have one part of the group coming in through one side, another part through another side, and we got the girls escaping from the cages they were in. So now the villain has a lot of people to worry about. But he doesn't know this at the time. Right now, he's just worrying about Doc Savage. He's like, I got you. I imprison you. And while he has him captured, Doc Savage sees he's talking to these Japanese soldiers, to like a captain and a sergeant, I believe. And he's trying to sell them this military weapon. And one of them, the higher ranking officer, says, "This is a terrorist weapon. There's no honor in that." He goes, "This weapon is for cowards." Once Johnny Sunlight explains to him how, "Look, this weapon could just destroy a whole city." He goes, "I'll destroy San Francisco so you can see how it works." And he's like, "I'm not even interested in hearing what you got to say. Just gonna kill a bunch of innocent people. We're honorable, you know. We fight honorable like warriors, you know, against other warriors. We're not killing women and children and civilians." Matsui's right hand man, Osato, just betrays him right here, shoots him. He says, "You lack vision. You gotta think about the future." You know, and he goes, "This weapon will help us win a lot of future wars. If I take this back to my country, to our president, I'll be seen as a hero for it." So while he's giving this speech to Matsui, uh, the gang is clicking back together. They're all hooking up, right? The girls and the rest of the guys outside of this place where the villains are. So once they all link up together, they break in to save Doc Savage, and they just shoot this guy down, right? This guy that's clearly gonna be a future terrorist and no longer a sergeant, right? Because he's clearly throwing all that his morals down the drain right here. They quickly dispose of him, but while all this is going down, Dr. Sunlight escaped. He ran to the plane and flew away. Now this plane he's on is the one that has this terrorist weapon. So Doc Savage runs to another plane, the only other plane there at the moment. That's Amelia's plane, the girl that was imprisoned there. Now she says, "No, hold up, that's my plane. Nobody knows how to drive it better than me." He says, "I'll go, you stay here. It could be dangerous." She says, "Stop trying to do all this machismo stuff." She goes, "I know how to fly the plane better than anybody, so I could catch up to him because it's my plane, right?" So Doc Savage says, "Fine, we don't have time to argue." And you gotta remember, when she goes to catch up to him, this plane isn't a military plane. It has no Gatling guns, no machine guns. It's just a plane. So she catches up to him, and she just does something unexpected here. She just does a kamikaze mission. She just crashes right into the other plane. So she basically commits suicide to save thousands of people. So she goes out like a very honorable death, she went out like a G basically, right? And yeah, so that was basically the end of the story. I thought this was a very fun read, pretty quick, page turner. It didn't have like a lot of substance to it, but it did have some. Like when they're talking about war, even though war is an ugly thing, you do a lot of things you might not want to that are against your moral code. But even in war, there are rules. And being a terrorist, attacking civilians, that's cowardness. And whether you're living in the real world or you're living as a soldier, that type of mentality is not accepted anywhere. Cowardness is a no go. As they say, when good people don't do anything, the bad people win. In this story, there was, clearly the terrorists are the bad guys, and you got your heroes. So for me personally, I like stories where the villain is somewhere in the gray area, where it's not so clear he's a villain, where some of the things he's fighting for make sense, and you're kind of like, well, is he really the villain? Here it was very black and white, so it was very obvious who's who. And I also like the stories where the hero does some shady stuff, kind of like Punisher, where you're not always sure is he really a hero or is he just another bad guy. He's doing the same stuff, but he's only doing it for a different cause and he's targeting different people. I like stuff like that. So this you don't get a lot of that in these type of stories with Doc Savage and so forth. It's always like pretty clear cut. But that's one thing I wish it would have had a feeling with more depth, like made you maybe question the good guys. Is this guy really bad? The guy you guys are fighting? We didn't really get that here. I would have liked it if they had some trickery or something, like in real life. A lot of times the people that pretend to be good, you see them and you see they're doing bad things, and you're like, I'm not even paying attention to what you say. I'm paying attention to your actions, and judging by your actions, you're not really that good of a person, right? And sometimes the opposite. Sometimes some people may do something bad, but they're really good people and they just do something bad because of the specific situation they were in at the time or whatever, right? So you gotta get like the full story. And here, I wish they would have had that, like where a guy that's kind of like on Doc Savage's side, then kind of turns on him, and you were like, oh, I thought he was a good guy the whole time, right? That would have made the story a lot more interesting in my book. But all in all, it was a fun read. It was entertaining, had its action, had nice art. If you're new to the character of Doc Savage and you haven't read him before, I'd honestly recommend some of the black and white magazine stuff. It's a lot better than this was. But those can be maybe a little harder to come by. So if you can't get a hold of one of those, this is a nice quick read to kill some time. If you read this before, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section. Other than that, I'd just like to thank you guys for taking some time out of your day to check out this video, watch me talk about the story a little, and I'll check you guys out next time.